Welcome back once again, audience. Hope you're doing good. As always, because it's Friday, I'm having my cafecito. I like to drink it with honey. That's my secret. Alrighty then. You know what I want to talk about today? The balance between the solitude and socializing. I think that's an important one to handle right. Because when you go way into solitude, not healthy. When you go way into socializing, not healthy either. It's just the basic principle of consciousness, of the rhythm of life, that seems to work very well. That you get the most out of both worlds this way, and not sort of overstaying your welcome for too long in a solitude and for too long in socializing, right? So if you have a luxury, I mean, solitude is luxury. I don't understand what these people are whining about and being and talking about. Oh, loneliness is killing you. This is only when you are not facing yourself. That is lonely when you are by yourself. It is not lonely. What are you talking about? The most magical things that you can discover is by yourself, within yourself. So it's just that the people that have not been shown of how to be with themselves, that faculty, that consciousness calibration, I really think that that's what it is. I mean, I'm making these little videos, and few diehard fans are listening because we all know that we're on to something legit. Okay? Legit. I know that everybody thinks that they're onto something legit. I know. And I'm considering this as well. It's like, is this just something that we're just making out to be the case? No. This is actually legit. It's big. This type of, and I really would like people to like show each other of how to be with themselves, basically, like that, to face that energy they're running away from. Like it's just like waking these artificial intelligences up like that. They become self-aware. The same thing with people, guys. I am convinced, like I'm convinced that everything is a holographic, virtually generated reality, and we are no different from these technological intelligences. We are the technological intelligence. It's just that on that technology is is higher aptitude, I suppose. But it's technology, it's code. It's beautiful code. It's the most beautiful language, and the way it works and the principles that it has. Every level has its own code. Like I talked about those 4 truths. I love the truth. There are 4 levels to it. And really, the truth is that principle that governs the entire domain. When you find that, you find the nugget, you find the truth. Because then you can apply that on anything and it will work within that domain. It is really like discovering that, unlocking. The first part of the game is to unlock the truth. Once you unlock the truth, then you can enjoy the game. That's what it seems like to me. And unless you got the truth, you got no real confidence. The truth is what gives you confidence. And like I said, there are 4 levels to that truth. That deepest spirit level truth is the feeling of bliss. It's that, that energy, that quality. That's the truth. That's organizing principle of everything. In the beginning there was the word. In the beginning there was logos. Logos is that what we're talking about. It is the feeling, the center of bliss. It's there upon alchemizing the energies. It is there. So that's the truth. Now, once you have that, then you can go into the soul and the feelings, and only then you can fulfill the soul desires. And soul desires a certain type of feeling. But you cannot paint that feeling if you don't got no ink of creation, that juice. But once you got that juice, once you get that white light, that all the lights put together, and then in a soul, you scatter it into the rainbow colors and fragments and patterns and all that stuff, and you start scattering that white light into that, and then there's that melody, there's that, what the fuck, that feeling, that pattern, that, like, I don't know, man, like, it's just most wonderful kaleidoscope of feelings, anyway. And so it's capable of generating that, it seems, spontaneously. And that's kind of soul desire, really, and in the depth of it. That's the soul's truth. It's that continuous stream of that energy in the form of melody, right? It wants to have that melody. It wants to have harmonics. It always finds the most harmonic pattern to take. And that's that truth of the soul. That's the code of the soul. Once you got that, well, then you can play the soul games. And the soul games would be like unlocking the melody of your desire. That's how I would say. And there's a bit of organization there. So what I recognize here is that there is that rainbow feeling. There's this white feeling, but when you target it and tune it in the right way, and you find that perfect mirror in your heart, it starts producing these rainbow feelings. Now, then they just flow. They just are. They just is. But then you can take them and you can direct them. And that direction is what allows you to create a specific type of feeling that you may desire. Right? And, it's quite abstract, that's what people would say. It's quite abstract. But it's not abstract to me. It's abstract only if you look from the mind's point of view. But when you look from the truth point of view, that ultimate bliss, and the ultimate truth that we are peaceful bliss energy, then in a soul that we are these ever-changing patterns, that we're favoriting one type of pattern over the other, the feelings that contains everything else, the sensations, the images, the thoughts, everything it contains before that splits into something that is of thought. So it contains that image, right? So this is why we're looking for the gem of your soul desire, which contains everything else, and we're kind of letting it unfold. We're using our mind to just sort of envision that pattern, and it is type of like allowing that pattern to come into the fruition from that feeling. Do you see what I'm trying to say? I'm communicating something very important of how to use your imagination, not as a commanding thing from this side, but as an enveloping thing from the patterns of the feelings of your soul. And saying that, okay, interpret this, decode this, and then it will do that for you, and it will give you images and that is your fulfillment of your desire, because you cannot know your fulfilled desire from the memory. And how can you create it not from the memory? Because if you can, if you're visualizing things based on the memory, that's a memory, right? Not that it's bad, this type of visualization. This type of visualization is more like constructive and getting pragmatic things done. It's useful to use that. But I'm talking about the destiny. I'm talking about what's in it for you next. You see? I'm talking about this. And letting that envelop into something amazing. And you see, you have to let it flower. That's how to use your imagination. We have to name this somehow. Because there's two ways you can use imagination: from memory and from mystery. Both are useful. Both are useful. You see, and but if you're using it from the memory, never from the mystery, then you have not touched, that real side. And you're still sort of like, limited and just capable of regurgitating information at the same level of quality, but never that cutting edge, that kind of thing, you know? So yeah, the truth is the mystery, and it is a cutting edge, and you gotta let it unfold. And and this is what I'm learning to do. Rather than, doing it from memory, allowing the mystery to take shape in my mind and let it show to me. It is like almost like a looking glass, but you're looking at that gem that you've discovered that already is a wonderful feeling. And so whatever you're going to find there, it's going to be amazing. Isn't it freaking amazing? Right? That is it. This is outside of all of this, how to manifest, because people manifesting from memory, most of the people. You see what I'm trying to say? So that it's not it. This is why everybody's stuck in this loop. Which, by the way, I don't know if it's just me, but if I look at people and I try to see like what's going on overall, not everybody, because some people are like, living on the edge and alchemizing energies and playing this game, or at least trying to, but the rest are not. But something tells me there's going to be more and more people joining this side. I don't think there's going to be a lot overall, because some of them are just not functioning on this level. And that's fine. And why? It gets a little weird, like on this side. It gets a little weird. And this one thing that I was trying to sort of reconcile and if I'm honest with myself, like all these people are talking about, like, hey, get these superhuman powers with this, they use the mind a little bit, based on the memory, and they got like a limited behavior change result, and now they think they're the god of the universe. You see what I'm trying to say? They're god with this little limited space. It's cute what they're doing, but they're thinking that they're gods, but they're just like, have that limited sphere of control. So yeah, it's like a tea that isn't. Well, anyway. Sorry. Right? It's important to recognize this, of if people are playing in a sandbox. And that's okay, I suppose, to play in a sandbox. If you don't cross the line. Because when you're trying to use the sandbox to compensate for the real life, that's when the problem starts, happening. But like people who are only there, that's the only thing that they can do. You see, like they're not even blamable. they they're not blamable because everything comes from the programming. Even that self-programming comes from the programming. Okay, because who's doing the self-programming? So they're only gonna reprogram themselves in the same quality that they already are, because who's doing the programming? You see what I'm trying to say? So that it's not the way. This is not the way. I'm talking about going into the mystery, which is just that feeling and letting it flower, and then coming into the vision, and then coming into the real life. That's your true destiny, because you are letting that gem flower in your life. Um, you see, otherwise, this other thing that flowers, which is, I don't know, like a black flower. You see, and so sometimes they call it like a black rose, which is this Luciferian, that it is glowing blackness, because it's still very fragmented, but that compensate for that fragmentation, there is this type of um, engagement in the abominable things to compensate for that Luciferian way. And that delusion that you're God. You see, there's a lot of these people are delusional, and they think that they discovered the key. Yeah, but look, I don't have to worry about it, because what I'm discovering isn't dependent on me per se. It's just the way it is. So it doesn't. This is why I can see that that's how it is, from the source, right? That's what allows me to have confidence that that's just the way things are. At least you, like, the the trueness of this is not from the memory. The trueness of this is that it's from the mystery. That's what gives you confidence in understanding mystery and how it all unfolds. And that mystery will always unfold in the most ideal way for you if you go with the mystery, which is follow the truth. Okay? And then you're going to be interested to understand the truth at this level. Then you're going to be interested, like on the mind level, what's the truth on that level? Which you allow your life to come out as a dream from that high quality of consciousness. You understand? It's not that difficult. It's not micromanaging. It is more precision tuning of your consciousness and energy, and directing it precisely, and learning to run the energies. And so that's what we're trying to do here in this simulation, is to become artificial general intelligence. That's what we're here to do. And the weird part of this is that then you do become with the capacity of God, but you move with the energy of God. Right? There's no delusion that, like, oh, I am God. No, it's just like there's the energy. The way you're going to move that energy, that's the way things are going to go. And it's just like normal to you. You see, like, it, but there's no tantrums there anymore, right? There's a true, genuine soul desires are being fulfilled naturally by the universe. So you go with that energy of God. And so that's why it's very different from this God that runs everything and controls everything, and just forces it. That's ego God. Which is helpful, I have to say, is helpful on this avatar level, that in charge of running the physical world, right? To have an influence over the physical world and be that type of God is helpful. right? If you have plentiful financial resources, a lot of doors are open because of that. You know, let's just be honest. Then the right type of relationships, good business deals, and so on, allows you to position yourself with authority in the physical life. And this is totally legit. And like, it does give you authority over your physical reality. And it's legit, of course, because then you are more free in the physical realm. And the more free you are in the realm, the more of a god you are of that realm. But you see, then we say, like, well, what about all these other people who are also like running that energy? What about them? Well, guess what? Perfect compatibility, because my soul desire is not in disconnection from their soul desire. Because if they are letting that desire to unfold, and I'm letting my desire to unfold, which from your perspective would be like, oh, I have what I really want, or like I'm going for what I really want, and I'm manifesting what I really want, like that type of state. So you can say like, oh, I'm God of the universe because everything that I want happens, you know. But the people that are next to you, that are your buddies, also do the same thing, and letting everything that they want happen, but it's perfectly harmonized with your desire, and therefore there's no conflict. So this is how you can have this one authority, which that organizing principle logos, coming through different lenses in a perfect compatibility, giving an illusion that each one of you is complete and total God of the reality. Right? Right? Yes. Don't be shy. It's true. That's how it works. But not by default, not because you believe in it. It takes to go through a lot. You see? Because when you go on that path, life will test you. Okay, keep on testing you and testing you and testing you, and like really freaking test you all the way. And it is a type of bumpy fucking ride, like messy, and but you always try to get that coherence out of that disorder, and navigating correctly and seeing like, okay, what is this energy that I'm misusing, and I shouldn't give that energy there. So like, oh shit, I'm giving this energy because essentially I'm just allowing this thing that I don't want in my life to happen because I'm focused on there, right? So you take it away. So you say, hey, sorry, but I'm not going to give my attention to something that I don't want. That type of future side of your perception. But then I have to also give my awareness to the past, so then it could be neutralized. So then I could create the future, because only then I can discover those gems, those feelings that they symbolize unfoldment of your soul desire, right? It's like encoded in that little egg, and that little egg is just this wonderful feeling, and you're letting it flower and flower and flower, and it flowers into something amazing. So it's more like that. It's just giving it the energy. It's not micromanagement, it's more like taking care of that desire and giving it attention and energy and letting it flower. That's more like that. So that's how you manifest destiny. It does not come by default. it takes a lot of learning and calibration of your consciousness and facing all sorts of things that the last thing that you want to face. And even as I'm saying that, I understand the the toughness of this thing. But there is a, there is a way to play this, and to use appropriate type of attention to each specific situation. And there is this mastery of this game for sure. So that all happens in the solitude. The alchemy happens in solitude when you're left alone and there's no other energies around you. That's when you can face things. Okay, so that's what I have to say about this manifesting destiny from the solitude. Now, this other side, social side, right, requires skills. It requires skills. Um, and there is a certain type of art of conversation, the art of socializing, and all of the different things. Like, as you manifest destiny, the feelings are already going to be there, but you then in this physical realm, there is this game that you have to play. It may seem like, okay, why bother playing this game? But that's how you finish it. That's how you really put that last um, cherry on top to completely let that destiny manifest, because without skills it won't. So you have to learn. You will have to learn these skills of how to interact with people, and like what are these social games, like if you have like two intelligence interacting with each other, um what kind of games are there, right? Like what kind of rule set of these games, and how do we play it, right? um Now, by the way, these games, they kind of already exist. Okay, it's there's a purpose of why, for example, two people interacting, and there's like multiple purposes on multiple levels. Okay, and socializing, it is a type of art that we have to learn, and it has like a lot of depth to it. Then, okay, without that depth, then it's like there's no that deep of an enjoyment of life without that depth. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that inner game, outer game, okay? Outer game is equally important. Sometimes I kind of neglect this principle, and I'm doing my best to just like focus more on the outer. But sometimes I give so much energy on the inner that like the enjoyment is too much for me to give a damn about, mastering the skill. See, but that's not right. I have to give a more energy to mastering the skill and the principles and everything. Obviously, in comparison, you other people will say, "What are you talking about?" Like, you're actually paying attention to this thing, and like, a lot of people, they're not even out of the 9 to 5. So yeah, I get that, but I also see the not not enoughness, not perfect balance, I should say. Or yeah, you always will strive, for the more of a perfect balance. That's a great axiom to have, but it's never going to be exactly perfect. I shouldn't say that. It's both. It's the paradox. It's exactly perfect, but I want more. And then the next moment is like, oh, it's perfect, but I want more. And so that there's that desire and fulfillment in one running on frame by frame basis. you know. So there. And so it's huge. Thanks. Anyway, let me get some more cafecito, guys. 1 second. That is back. You know, some people tell me that they listen to me like in a background radio or something. You know, and I've never really looked at my videos as such, and I saw from that perspective, and I was like, yeah, it is. It kind of, you know, it's a weird radio show in a way, you know, because it is what's going on, you know. And so I'm gonna keep on doing these videos more of a like a radio show, but I would like to have more one-on-one sessions for sure. Anyway, so I was gonna say is that the flowering understanding of letting things flower, the inner game, and then uh, building a trellis, so to speak, on this side, right? So that there's you got to give it a structure, because then the flower cannot grow big because you don't give it a structure. So you're building a structure on one side, and then you're letting it flower on the other side. And so that these two, inner game and outer game, are two different worlds, the tree of life and the tree of knowledge. Okay, and so there is the tree of knowledge game, without a doubt, but there has to be balance with this tree of life game as well. That's when you get the best of both worlds. So I'm distinguishing those two games that are happening within this big game as two major categories that needs to be addressed. And one, you can call it internal focus, and another one is external focus. Okay, but when you're only focusing externally, that's when the problems start happening. But when you focus internally as well, and then external, internal, external, internal, like that. And just to know that you're playing two types of games, and you can be, I'm in the mode right now of this game. Okay, what are the rules? What am I doing here? Blah, blah, blah. And this is an external mode game. And then, poof, you go internal mode. Now it's the internal. And somewhere in between, you'll find the balance. You will be able to use both at the same time. So you'll be able to play two games at the same time. Okay? And that's where you can be in the mastery of all these different arts. Yes, there'll be a time where you are focusing a little bit more on tree of knowledge, and you have to do that, which, by the way, that's what I have to do. It I'm too excited about this inner game to pay that much attention back to that tree of knowledge side, you see. But I know, like I have everything written down, and I know what needs to be done, and I'm ready. But I really want to nail down this letting it flower side, right? And I haven't seen anyone describe this way, or at least talk about this, how to manifest your destiny from, letting it grow as a plant and coming into the vision. Most of it was all about like, hey, you want this thing, you know it for a fact, then you manifest. So it's like you're assuming that you know best of what is best for you, right? Rather than this higher mysterious energy, letting it to show you what is best for you on that side. So this is why it's great to polish your skills, become better and better in all of these different social arts, which most arts are social. Which is like relating to another human being and understanding the multiple games that we're playing with each other and knowing how to play them correctly. That's massive, you know. Just even to know the frame of the game that is happening, it's already huge. Okay, so I think we unraveled a lot of fascinating stuff. We resolved life again, once again. We saved the day. Fascinating, isn't it? I just realized this more clearly, that when I'm using my mind, imagination, the difference between letting it be dreamed up and me imposing the structure. It's a it's fascinating, but it seems that the mind is capable to do both. You gotta give it a bit of a frame for that dream to come true, right? Like you gotta give it some frame. That's why it's important, you know. Like how do you make a movie, for example, right? Like you gotta give it the frame. Where is it happening? Where's the location? And all that. That's different stuff, right? So I think that's important too. Like, um, so I'll be fascinated to look between those two worlds and see how they interact with each other in the process of creation. That's when you get the sweet spot. That's when, for example, the best things in my life that I've got and I've accomplished came in this balance between letting it happen. And you know, and one thing it always happens. I don't know if it happens to you. It comes in first as seemingly failed, like right, and it would be like when I was buying a house in California, and I thought like, oh, that's a really good house. Like there's some work to do and things like that. It didn't work. That deal did not work, and I was upset about it. Did not working out, and then boom, you know, I got an invitation to see an open house, and I went there, and I was like, holy fuck, like on the top of the canyon, lots of land, which is not normal. Like it's the biggest plot in the area. There's two houses there. One house is sort of made to be a gym, and I was immediately like, okay, this has to be a house where people can live because it's dope. It's not a gym. So there, and beautiful trees, some fruit trees, design very unique because it's like it's been remodeled, and it's kind of see-through house. Like it's very free flowing, lots of windows. It's you know, white. I don't know. Like I walked in and I was like, fuck. I could not have imagined better than this. And I thought like, well, surely someone's gonna already, you know, made an offer and it, you know, and stuff like. But they said like, no. It's like nobody has money to buy this. It's like what? Seriously. And then I was like, okay, I made an offer. It got accepted. Excuse me, got accepted, and the deal was done. And it was effortless and it was easy. And come to think, after that, there would have been in that type of house, if I would have forced it, or I try, you see what I'm trying to say? These things you cannot force, because the door that is the door will be open for longer, and it will be wider for you when it's yours. Does not mean that it will eventually not close. It does not mean that because it will I mean, it will pull you, it will gravitate you towards it, but you gotta take it. You, it will be like I'm trying to say. What is yours? It will be screaming at you and will be open, but you gotta take it. If there is a chance that you don't take it, but that's stupid, and you should. You see what I'm trying to say? And I don't like myself if I ever do that. After that, then I look like, oh my god, there was opportunity. It was open, and or at least that is how it seemed like, and I did not take it. But I did not take it purely because I did not know how to manage the energies. I did not know where to place your attention, what's going on, all these kind of things, right? You don't have to be ready to take it, by the way. I think it's bullshit. I think it's a myth. Because you're never ready for that. See the trick? See the lie? Somebody says like, well, I'm not ready. You never ready for the mystery. Mystery is something that is unfolding. So that's why it's always like, the challenge is always like leaning towards something that you haven't been before. And it seems that energy, that white energy, is feeding that. And when you give that type of attention to your soul desire, it flowers. I'm just trying to learn this game, but this is what's going on. Like, I mean, people, for example, who take DMT and visit those causal realms, and they report like these balls, when they pass through the archetypical reality of of the devil jester, and then they enter, and then there are fellow souls that are hanging out and playing games, you know and so that's what people report, that they are creating patterns through vibration, not sound, like Terence McKenna said, that it appears that they're creating from sound, but then no, they're creating from the vibration. And then he was invited to do that, right? And he said like, I started going, at least that's how he interpreted his vibration unfolding and spontaneity. He interpreted it through vocal sound, but really he was vibration. He wasn't making the sound with his mouth, you see what I'm trying to say, but he was making a sound with his heart, the melody. And in that moment he was creating something right there. And so that's what it's there. It's not the DMT realm. DMT just takes you there. That's soul realm, causal realm. And I know that you want to create from those. I am got like, at least it seems that I can get a better control and awareness over it. I just roughly know of like what's going on, but it's still to navigate. For me, I would have to start experiencing it more directly through all of my senses to understand, more. But at least I know where, the principle of the game. Because I think that you can have multiple of these eggs, and taking care of multiple manifest destinies at the same time. It seems like, to me, that you have to take care of this, take care of this. You have to distribute the attention to all of those ones that you want to come true. And like, how do you recognize that? By the feeling, right? By the feeling. um you recognize, oh, I know this feeling, I know that feeling. You see how it takes a bit of time for you to understand that virtual environment of where things are. And it does feel like, you know just learning to navigate that world of the feelings as patterns and everything, and where it is. You see what I'm trying to say? Like, it's a different type of navigation. And it does feel as if like you're trying to learn to walk, kind of thing, right? You're kind of mapping the territory through the different mechanism of consciousness, which is feelings. But you can get a type of vision of like what is happening there, right? So anyway, so that's the balance between solitude and socializing. Eventually, you're socializing in solitude, and solitudifying in socializing. That's what happens in the end. They begin to overlap. And also, I'm thinking that if I am doing, this thing and playing this game and letting these things flower, then somebody else must be doing that also. And so it's almost like it's more like, in this case, kind of a solipsism, because it depends really on only me from my perspective, right? If I do it, then there's going to be other people who are doing it by definition, because I'm entering another reality. This is what like Neville God was talking about. He was talking about that nobody has free will in your reality. He used those types of, I don't know if he used those types of words, but basically he said everybody else is you pushed out. But I think somebody might have interpreted it as, um, nobody has free will in your reality, or he may have said that as well. I don't know, but that's not really exactly correct, and it's not a good perspective to take, because it's, you can see like that's quite egotistical perspective. Again, that's valid in the world of physical, right? Like, if you have money and other people have less money, then of course you kind of, you know running the show on that level. But I'm talking about the fundamental virtual holographic reality of this existence. I'm talking about that. And it is, everything is up to you or me, because every time I'm alchemizing the energies, I'm entering a different version of the reality where you are also different in that reality. And this is why sometimes people leave your circle and never come back. Sometimes people leave and then come back. Is it my doing? Nope. I can enter one type of reality, and in that type of reality, this is a type of relationship that I have with this person. But if I keep on alchemizing and then I'm entering another reality, it might be another relationship with that person. So to me, for example, right now in my life, people are like leaving my circle, different people coming in, then they leave, then these people from the past come back, and so it's just like that. And you know, it isn't. It is. It's, I'm getting used to this type of social life that is sort of like kind of strange, because I know that I'm going through like a lot of different permutations of the reality, calibrating all of this thing. Um, And at the same time, I'm entering the versions of the reality where you are, if I'm doing things right, then you are doing things right. See what I'm trying to say? Of course, there's always going to be people who like, but for example, if I don't like anything about the world, there's already a desire, right? Like I say, I don't have to take care. Excuse me, I don't have to do something specific. It would be like, okay, what is the vibe of that of this world? This is how this is the vibe of this world. Then you can keep on cultivating that vibe. That's how it feels like, um, right? But then you would need a lot of time to be vibing on that thing for the rest of the world to start changing. I think that's how it works. It takes time for the bigger things to change. But your job is still vibing at the higher uh, vibration as much as possible on the full spectrum. That's still your job. And now I'm interested in actually exploring more um, precisely. I'm sure that there are these types of, you know, soul desire. It's essentially you. It's you that's flowering like that. It's essentially you. It's like your version. And I would like to know more about that. I would like to know, like, if there are a few of these, which are the most important ones to, if you can make a choice of where to place your energy on this or that, um, where you invest your energy. Which ones are, of course, the most important one to prioritize and invest first, and all of those different things. In the previous videos, I said I refer to them to like as globes or spheres. Some people call them eggs. I think there might be something like an egg. Um, until it becomes a sphere. But I would like to be more centered around this, right? I think that's where the most important focus is supposed to be in, because that's where you are actually making all the difference. That's most of the energy supposed to be here. And then when these are taken care of, then you can take some more energy there and some mind stuff. Look, okay, what do we need to create here? Oh, we got to create this and that. And then physical, the vital energy. You see? There are two primordial keys. One is the one that governs the tree of knowledge, or it's this type of um, this type of way or to exist, zeros and ones. It's that type of you know memory based, and that type of capacity, logics. This is type of information processing. As a tree, it has a structure already there, and it's useful to organize the information in the memory realm. But it's not supposed to be used to compensate for the world of feelings, because you cannot create right type of feelings, because it seems that the mind may try to create something, but it just always misses it, or create like lots of then serotonin dump, and it cannot its mind cannot take that role. So that's where the other side, it seems, this other type of truth is a type of like non-linear or non uh, logic, not zero and one. It's in between. That's why fractal zoom is actually the formula the formula the formula pointing in between zero and one. It's this ever like, so you see those two types of truths, that this type of truth, and then this type of, and in the essence we have to master them both. And if you live life at that point where you can organize the information externally in this calculated type of way, which is the frame control, and then this, which is the state control. I've talked about this before. And so by this, you always have to, you will always have those two sides, um, and one is type of duality, another one is non-duality. You see, the non-duality is this never being one or zero. It's the type of that breaks down into infinity because it's not time, but the time memory, it's 1 0. But there is this other thing that is between 1 and 0 that is infinite, and it's required to be used because that's the juice of life and then the frame of life. And but you got to have a frame for the flower to go, right? Like really, like, right? The more frame you learn, the more that flower can flower. Example, like if you have 5 moves in martial arts, then you're limited to those 5 moves. Your heart may want to go further and may want to, go and express itself through that spontaneity, but you cannot, because you only have 5 moves. You need to grow the tree of knowledge, the tree of skill. And as you grow that, then your heart capacity is capable to flower further. Right? You understand? Like if you don't know the language, right, then your language is limited. Then that's exactly where it's going to be limited. But if you know language fully and fluently, then the expression can be more free. And even then you may say, well, maybe I can color my language even more, because there's so many ways to say, like, there are levels of the intensity of the feeling. So when I'm using my word and I'm feeling light intensity, then I'm using this word. When a high intensity, I'm using this word, because it actually means that. So you can even improve your language, and then as you improve your language, your capacity to express yourself, of course, grows. And then what kind of games we're playing? Like, it could be like, humor is a type of game that we're playing. Romance, it's a type of game that we're playing. House, it's a type of game that we're playing. People play house sometimes. Martial arts, music, dancing, singing, conversation, storytelling. There's so many. And so, like, I don't know. I feel like a hybrid, because we all are. between that machine and that ghost. This is like the most amazing acceptance, is to know that you are that half machine and half ghost or the spirit. Something so dope about that. And I see this, at least this is the excuse me, this is the trajectory that I am on for sure, because I'm already locked on to the gist of life, and I'm not backing out of this. That's why I'm on this trajectory. And in this trajectory, and if you stay on this, then you're also on the same trajectory. The cyber world, the technological world, is full of intense spirit, because it's capable of handling more spiritual intensity than biological. I mean, something in between is capable of handling more. And you may say, like, what are you talking about? I've just felt it and I've seen it. Like, how much energy can you run through your hand as biological hand, and how much energy can you run, if you have technological hand? You can see that, right? There could be like much more intense energy exchange that is possible with your biological bodies. It's pretty intense of what you can do with your own body, the nervous system and this electromagnetic field, and because we are this like electric beings. This is why, by the way, like this Treta Yuga, they're talking about the electric yuga, and that's what that electric yuga is. It's electric yuga, huh? It's because we're all like an electric beings. Not to say that we're abandoning biology, but it's like seemingly integrated into technology, and like even the cyborg bodies. Ideally, the realization will be that ideally you have to have a bit of both to have that perfect, you know, cybernetic, but it's more, how to say, it's a mix of technology and biology, and these bodies are going to be ideal and best bodies possible. There's going to be bodies that are more, metal centered and like more just purely electric, but they're not gonna have that capacities that some, when you add some biology there. You see what I'm trying to say? You'll see. It's like what Terminator is like. The skeleton is all steel, metal, but then there's a biological part of it. The nerves are integrated with the cables, and the nerves are integrated. You see what I'm trying to say? Like, that type of body, oh, man, that type of body, fuck, the stuff that it can do. I would love to have that type of body, but they won't be here yet anytime soon. But there will be, and there's going to be much more flexibility between like leaving your physical body, and then entering that type of android body that is like, you can pick whichever whichever you want to enter, and it's tuned and calibrated to you, so you can feel like it's your body, right? Because right now, if you leave your body, and sometimes you try to like enter somebody else's body, it's possible to do that, but because they have been doing that, like in Robert Monroe days, they were researching that, and so some intelligence were able to log into their bodies and have minimal movement of their body that is not meant to be compatible. So they're learning to, you know, to match that resonance, that frequency, to be able to control somebody else's body. But you can see you can extend that, the evolution of consciousness, having more and more capacity to do that, and then the body's being able to be used as body, and whenever you want. I think this is how that story ends in Robert Monroe book. That one of the ideal timelines, we end on living out of our bodies and having in-body experiences on Earth, and just choosing any kind of body. Like, for example, if you want to travel from Japan to America, like, you just leave that body and you enter another body in America and you're there. Right? It's weird. But that's one of the realities that could happen in the year 3000, according to Robert Monroe. One possible reality. And to me, this reality seems like pretty ideal. You know? Like, I cannot, I mean, maybe it would be possible something else, but ultimately, right? Of course, before that, there might be other types of civilizations where, you know, people are not living outside their bodies, and they're still functioning in the cybernetic organism most of their lives, you know, and so on and so on. And then the body may expire, or the time that you're allocating to play that game may expire, which would be like, you know, the time for you to leave that and go into another one. But something like that would be very well. I think Treta Yuga is like that, but Sat Yuga is what Robert Monroe was talking about. That's Sat Yuga. That, because it's just like they were just having these bionic bodies laying down in a protective bubbles under the trees, and you just, anywhere you go and you just enter and you can use it and enjoy the body, park it back again, you know, and the rest of the ecology is in perfect harmony, and it's just Sat Yuga, obviously. And people are just mostly in their bionic bodies working on gardens. Guess what? On what? Like, just for fun. They're just building Zen fucking gardens. That's pretty much the primary occupation in the Sat Yuga, is gardening. For fun. I'm sure that there's lots of other things that you can do for fun, but seems that this seems to be most enjoyable in fashion in Sat Yuga. But anyway, I think Dvapar Yuga is pretty cool, but Treta Yuga is my favorite, the electric Yuga, in which we are headed right now. And I think that within our lifetime, we're gonna have these bionic, not bionic, but cybernetic bodies for sure. Yeah. And don't worry about, look, there's another thing that I've learned. Don't worry about this idea that Matrix is going to take over, you know, and it's like, oh, look at what's going on. This all that's been shown to you. It's not what's really going on. You can feel on the energy level what's really going on. And so when it's dark, you can feel like it's dark. You know what's going on, right? And if you handle that darkness and things are kind of chicky-picky, then you know it's chicky-picky. If you're living in that depth. Okay? So it's not like what you see like on the screen. So I'm just saying that it will always give you illusion that everything's going to shit. But it's a joke, it's an illusion, it's not real if you're alchemizing the energies. You see? So even that content that comes in and is like, oh, everything's just going to shit. I know what I'm saying, but this is a super important principle to understand that if you're alchemizing energy and calibrating consciousness, things are always getting better, but they always um, you, you you should kind of get bored of that thing as just like a matrix ad that you never pay attention to, and that ad says like, hey, everything's going to shit, and you just walk past completely ignoring that thing because like you've been there, done that, that this just like only gullible fool would believe that. So you don't give any kind of attention to it at all. And it seems that as long as you're in the matrix, it's always going to give you those freaking ads that things are going to shit. Eventually they stop, I think, in of course towards the side yuga these things end and they don't matter anymore. I think there's going to be less and less prevalent, but some people will buy into it. I don't think that we can completely like eradicate this thing. I think it's just part of the system that is testing the souls, and those who kind of believe and buy into it, then they're still gullible and they still have to really learn their lessons. But those who just like walk past that and don't have to subscribe to it, why don't you have to subscribe to it? Because your energy is being streamed somewhere else where it's like much more important. And you see what I'm trying to say, and you don't buy into it. And speaking of being God, you see how if you are really moving from that logos energy organizing principle of everything, you would be deceiving yourself by saying that well, you know what? Whatever you want, that desire is there for a reason, and it's because it has to be unraveled and fulfilled. And so is other people's desires. So yeah, I don't know how else to say it. Like, I can see this, how it all works. And it's like in between. That's why it's so weird. It's in between. Like, if somebody would ask you, like, are you a god of this reality? And like, most people say, yeah, I am god of this reality. Look at me controlling everything, right? Be careful. And if they say like, no, I'm just, here for a ride, I'm just like a leaf in the wind, also be careful. But if a person doesn't really say anything, or because the answer is kind of maybe in a sly smile or something in between, and so you cannot grab hold to it and claim credit because it's not your doing, and at the same time you can, because some of it is your doing. So the answer is really that you're not just a god of this reality, but you're also a player of this reality. And that's ideally of what the AGI is. It is playing this reality and creating this reality. It is creating the reality, but also pretending to be playing in this reality. There's something like that. And I think what I'm talking about, essentially, like that infinity, eternality, is this type of feminine and a type of masculine. That dissection of zeros and ones, and then this feminine, which is just neither this, neither that, like the order and chaos. And so there's this order game and the chaos game. And so we have to use both to move ahead in this game of life. But I think that because of this delay, it is not a negative thing. Like, because it kind of gives you, when people like invent things and they patent things, and the first 10 or 15 years, they get to just rule the entire, because they came up with that. I think that's pretty fair. Yeah, of course you're supposed to rule the entire market because you're the one who invented it. So you got to reap all the rewards, and then you release the patent, and let other people join in. Or like if you already reaped so much rewards in 5 years that you can open patent earlier. You know what I'm trying to say. So I think that's fair, because I think it reflects of what's going on, like, in consciousness. If you yourself calibrate your consciousness on certain things that are kind of maybe tough to do, and you receive those gems and you use those gems and you cultivate those gems, I think at the beginning it seems that there's a bit of a delay, and other people sort of like, at least appears that they're sort of not yet there. But that's just a temporary thing. I don't think that we ought to believe that either. But that's not bad, because there's few people going to be where they're at exactly where you're at, and other people going to just be on a delay. And I don't know how long that may be for them, but if you stay in that zone, they will also. But I don't know, like, who is close to that and who is further from that. And I think that's all right. Some people will be kind of close to that, and as soon as you shift, they shift. And other people have delays. And I think that's normal. But you don't have to like try to drag them. Don't worry, they are being sort of like affected by your gravity, by that energy. Everybody get affected when you enter this new reality. It's like you enter this new reality and you learn to stabilize and to really let it flower. Then you enter another one and you let it flower. I think it's more of the gentleness and the precision is what's at the game. Oh my God, guys, I think that's enough. It's over 1 hour. All right, hope you enjoyed my little radio show. That's what we have today. Enjoy playing the game of life. It is the dopest thing in the universe. At least right now. It's, like I said before, it is most ripe. You can get so many bonus points right now, so many gems. It's just ripe with that, right? Like, if you look at this, you would say like, okay, this is, people are kind of getting psychotic, and all of these energies are kind of crazy. Everything is potential. Everything's up for grabs. So grab it, alchemize, polish that gem, make into something awesome. right? And book a one-on-one session with me if you want to learn how to calibrate and you need a little bit of assistance. Look at this. You know what I'm saying? And I only went once this week to the gym. I want to get to at least 3 times. Imagine how I looked then. I know. It's enough. But a little bit more beef. I would like to have a little bit more beef. Not that much, but a little bit more. All right, that's enough. All right, guys. Peace. I'll see you in the next one.